Is it rolling? Yep. Yo, what's up, everybody? Harrison here, the Arabian Pleb. Welcome to the show. What is it? It's Monday. Hope you're all well. Hope you had a great weekend. So I just thought I'd start by saying I don't think I'm an expert. I don't think I'm like very smart, and the purpose of like even doing a show like this is I just want, I don't know, maybe like just like people, anyone to see who's just like casually going on the internet, to just see that like normal people like myself, I consider myself a normal person, normal people like just like responding to like the crazy things that are going on in the world, you know. So just an average person's kind of like view on world events and things that have gone like viral on the internet, things that heads of state do and prime ministers and presidents, and how like just your average Joe would react to that. And like, so that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I mean, you know, when I first started doing this, like I'm up to episode fucking 23 now. I got to try and not swear so much too. I swear a lot. It's crazy when I listen back to some of these recordings, how often I drop the F-bomb. So I've really got to stop doing that. Just going to put the fan on. So yeah, like when I first started, you know, I was like, I guess, I don't know, just like I felt like I had something to say, and I thought that the things that I had to say, like it might resonate with people, or people might want to hear it. But as I've gone on, I've kind of realized, hang on, that didn't turn on. Sorry about that. As I've gone on, I've realised that that's kind of like not. I don't know. Like, I still think I've got something to say, and that people, you know, might get some value out of that. But also, like the real value, I think, is just like people seeing that like they're not all so crazy. Like that it's okay to like disagree with the like what the news is telling you. And a lot of people actually do disagree with like the way the news is, like maybe like not what they're telling you, but like the way that they're framing it, the presumptions that are like baked into the cake in the way that a lot of things are being reported. It's like, oh really? Is that really so self-evident? Or is that really the like the how the general public feel, or how like most people would view these things, you know? And I know I'm being like very vague at the moment, but I'm just saying, like, I think that what I can maybe bring to the internet is just like, and maybe like framing it as like what I can bring to the internet isn't the right way to frame it, but like what I can bring to like my immediate circle of friends who might see this is that yeah, they also agree that like a lot of this stuff is crazy, and might all respond to a particular news report in the same way that I do. So hold up, I just got to see, it looks like someone's got back to me. Sorry, let me just pause this for 1 second. Cool, sorry about that. I just needed to get back to the arborist. So I've got a couple of trees in my backyard that I'm wanting to get cut down, and just trying to organise the time for him to come and do it. So yeah, where was I? Let me clear the throat. So I don't know. Like, I just think that it's nice sort of seeing maybe someone who's just like a normal average person, who's like not really the smartest person or whatever, maybe just like pushing back on some of the lies and propaganda that we're fed. So yeah, and I don't know, like I don't really like being on camera. I don't really like the sound of my own voice. So, but I do want to do this, and for the purpose of what I was just saying before, that like I think some people get value out of like just seeing, an average person like themselves kind of pushing back on the lies and propaganda that is constantly foisted on us. So for that reason, like I want to do it, but like I don't really take much pleasure in being on camera and hearing the sound of my own voice. So just so you know, like I'm not that full of myself that, this is like super fun to do and watch and listen to for me personally. Hopefully it's fun and for you to listen to, but, so anyway, with all that, let's cut over to some different clips that I've saved. Here's a doozy. We got Mark Levin. Let's cut over to Mark Levin and see what he has to say. Hang on, it doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Here we are in the middle of a war, and it's going spectacularly well.
It's going spectacularly well. He's trying to tell you that the war in Iran right now is going spectacularly well. Something like 15 Americans dead, hundreds of Americans wounded and injured. The Strait of Hormuz closed. All the American military bases in the region getting bombed and struck with fucking missiles. It's going spectacularly well.
Iran will not be a nuclear threat, at least in our lifetimes.
Iran has never been a nuclear threat. So this is just more lies and propaganda. They've never been a nuclear threat. We've been told for the last 30 years that they're a nuclear threat, but they've never made the political decision to make a nuclear weapon. And we've had IAEA, what is it, the International Atomic Energy Agency in Iran up until recently, until this war, pretty much, verifying that they have not made nuclear weapons.
Now, of course, we have to wrap it up. They've got enriched uranium and other things going on, and the president's going to handle that. I'm sure he's going to handle it very, very well, as he has the rest of it. But first, I want to congratulate him. I want to congratulate his cabinet. I want to congratulate the military. You're doing a fantastic job. I know we're not done, but you're doing a fantastic job.
Okay, so it's going great. The Americans are doing a fantastic job, supposedly. So that's Mark Levin. What else did I want to show you? Here's a clip of Candace. I don't know. I seen Alex Jones shared this, and him and Candace had been beefing pretty much for her whole like Charlie Kirk investigation over the last nearly year now. He's had a lot of disagreement with her, but so he says, Candace Owens was ahead of the curve and I officially apologized to her. Candace Owens plays a compilation of former Trump allies disavowing and criticizing him as the tarnishing of his legacy continues. He's even getting slammed on Truth Social, his own platform. Alex Jones, quote, I'm really glad he's differentiating and saying, you're not with me because I'm not with you. I don't want to be your cool, corrupt kid, Howard Lutnick, Jeffrey Epstein class table. Oh, sorry, I don't want to be at your cool, corrupt kid. Okay. Thank you so much for delineating that I am not with you, a sinking, burning ship. Okay, let's just watch it.
The way he wants to hear it, and I am not one of those people.
This proves one of many things.
And though I highly doubt that you will be permitted any opportunity to see what the crowd now thinks of you, I have to do my best to try. So here you are. Take a listen.
I don't know who's whispering to this guy's ear like freaking Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings, but they're telling you wrong stuff, bro. Half of the people that I grew up with in this movement are not on Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin's team. Okay? We aren't neocons. We aren't war hawks. We want America first. And if you make me choose between America first and MAGA, it's America first all day. That's what MAGA was supposed to be. You were just the best vessel for it, bro. Don't get it twisted.
But as bad as he is, as corrupt as he's gotten, the insider trading, all of it, I'm really glad he's differentiating and saying, you're not with me, because I'm not with you. I don't want to be at your cool, corrupt kid, Howard Lutnick, Jeffrey Epstein class table. Thank you so much for delineating that I'm not with you, a sinking, burning ship. He wasn't loyal to his original mission. He wasn't loyal to America, and he became a creature of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, and all of his Never Trumper enemies are now the courtiers with the madness of King Lear, telling him the lies and worshiping him the way he wants to hear it, and I am not one of those people.
This proves one of many things. The first thing, he shouldn't be in office anymore. Implement the 25th. He's not loyal to this country, and he's not loyal to anybody. Well, except for that little country in the Middle East. It's almost like he does what he's told, and the last president to tell that little country no was JFK, and we all know what happened to him. It's like Donald Trump. How can you call them losers when you lose to Bibi Netanyahu in Israel every single day? When's the last time you told them no to anything?
He said Brigitte Macron is far more beautiful than Candace Owens.
All I can say is he's been blind.
That's all across the internet. Take your pick, left and right. People understand that message was really your basket of deplorables moment. I mean, even on Truth Social, your very own platform, they've turned on you. Let's go through just some of these responses, okay? What? You are way out of line. Most of these people, especially Alex Jones, have been your day ones. That's correct. Just to remind you, Trump, when no one would have you on, when no media company would have you on, Alex Jones had you on his show. This person continues, you need to take a step back and take a good hard look at who is whispering in your ear and get back to America first. Next person, Trump, you are just going against everyone that fought for him to win just because of the Epstein files and being at war with Iran for Israel. They didn't leave MAGA, MAGA left them. Clearly you are insane. Time to resign, Donald, or face the 25th. You are mentally and emotionally unfit to be POTUS. You are so childish. Clearly, the truth has triggered you, being one of your biggest supporters. I am done with you and your lies. Look at the mess that you have gotten our country into by bending the knee to a monster. I could go on, but I have to say that when I was looking online, in my view, what was the most brutal and sadly a recurring response all across social media was this. Take a look at this tweet about Charlie. People were saying that Charlie would be on this list if they hadn't killed him. Like I said, many people said that in different ways. Charlie would be on this list if they hadn't killed him. So you should probably take a second to fully absorb what is being implied there. What is being implied there is that there is no truth and there is no loyalty within you.
There you have it. Everyone's turning on Donald J. Trump. Everyone's sick of it. It's so blatantly obvious that Israel controls him. Benjamin Netanyahu controls him. And he's just carrying out the Israeli agenda and completely disregarding anything remotely America first. Anything that even comes close to prioritizing America over every other country, prioritizing themselves over everybody else. It's just not happening. It's, as Scott Horton would say, as Scott Horton would say, it's America. It's either America first or Israel. You can't have it. You can't have it both ways. You can't be America first and Israel first. It's one or the other. That it is a binary. Okay, this clip's pretty funny. Let's check it out. So Dan Bilzerian, he's a American gentleman who's running for a congressional seat, and I believe I don't know where it is. I think it might be Florida. Anyway, he's going up against Randy Fine, who Randy Fine's a Jewish American who is an Israeli firster, well and truly, completely, supports Israel at the expense of America. So anyway, let's check this out because he went on TMZ and it's pretty funny. Let's check it out.
You called your opponent this fat Jew. So he's not from Israel, but you called a guy in Florida this fat Jew. How is that?
Why does that guy there just make a distinction that, well, he's not from Israel, so why do you get to call him a fat Jew, as with the assumption that all Jews come from Israel, which is not true, clearly. So it's so stupid. Straight off the bat, this guy right here is really dumb. That is hilarious. He's not from Israel, so why do you get to call him a fat Jew? Well, just because so does that mean that if you don't live in Israel, you're not from Israel, then you're not Jewish? It's pretty insane.
Not anti-Semitic.
Well, he's a Jewish supremacist, and he puts Israel before.
Hold on, let me back it up. Sorry.
You called your opponent this fat Jew. So he's not from Israel, but you called a guy in Florida this fat Jew. How is that not anti-Semitic?
Well, he's a Jewish supremacist, and he puts Israel before America, and I think that he should be tried for treason.
This fat Jew is anti-Semitic.
Yes. Dan. I mean, that's what you say, but how about
that's
every single time
that's what I know. I don't say it. I know
he literally talks about how Muslims are lower than dogs. So is that Islamophobic?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. And that wouldn't be, that's not appropriate for him to say either. If he had said that.
But he does all the time, and he tweets that, and he's a senator.
Are you anti-Semitic?
No, I'm not anti-Semitic. I think that, that's kind of a made-up term. I think the Palestinians are the real Semites.
Term?
Yes, because if you look at what a Semite is.
Was Hitler anti-Semitic?
What's that?
Was Hitler anti-Semitic?
Like I said, it's the term is focused solely on Jews, but actual Semites are the Arabs, and Palestinians are Semites as well, and they actually have more DNA lineage to that region than any of the Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews that have taken it from them. So, I kind of have issue with that term and how it's been hijacked to only talk about Jews.
So if you want to call it anti-Jewish, then you can call it anti-Jewish.
Well, I'm not going to call this anti-Jewish. When you say that this fat Jew, you could take another race and you could use another epithet, but you're anti-Semitic, Dan.
Hold on. I find it really fascinating that this gentleman here, the TMZ guy, he refuses. He does not want to refer to Jew hatred as anti-Jewish. He insists that it's anti-Semitism, that it's anti-Semitic. And why is that? I don't know. I just find that super interesting. It'd be like if I don't know. It'd be like if there was a term for, being I don't know, whatever, being racist against black people. There was a whatever, some specific other word other than just hating black people. I mean, let's make up a term you're anti. I really put myself on the spot. You're anti. Oh no, I can't think of a made up word. Whatever, just you're anti-black, whatever. But say I don't know. Okay, this is stupid. I've really fluffed this analogy completely. But anyway, getting back to, so he's this TMZ guy's really sticking to the, no, I'm not going to call it anti-Jew. You're anti-Semitic. I don't know. I just find it interesting. I don't, it's hard to put into words why that is. I think why, if I were to try to put it into words, is the anti-Semitism term is like very politicized and no one wants to be labeled anti-Semitic. But like what Dan Bilzerian sort of just pointed out, that like, well, let's actually look at like what Semitic is, like what is a Semite, and then what would it mean to be anti-Semitic or anti-Semite, and you know, when you really get down to it, it's like it doesn't even necessarily mean you're talking about a specific group of Jews. Like, there are people who would be considered Semitic that might not necessarily practice Judaism anymore. They might have converted to Islam or converted to Christianity or something like that, but it doesn't mean that they didn't come from, they're not the descendants of like Shem, you know, Noah's son, which is where the term Semite comes from, is Shem's descendants. So, yeah, I don't know. It's because, you know, to like hate, to be like anti-Jew is like more specific to criticism of Jews. To be anti-Semitic is like, well, that could mean that could mean not just necessarily Jews. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little autistic about it all.
I have Jewish
Ace, and you could use another epithet, but you're anti-Semitic then.
I'm not. I have Jewish friends.
Oh, some of your best friends are Jewish?
Paint all Jews with one brush, but he paints all Muslims with one brush, and it's accepted. And for some reason in this country, it is okay to just blast Muslims, bash them. You look at what Bill Maher said about Muslims. I mean, it's this double standard, and I don't like the double standard. And I look at him as a Jewish supremacist. He believes that, you know, Jews are better than other people, and he puts Israel before America. And so I have huge problems with that.
So if you've got a black friend that you don't like, do you use the N-word on him?
No, I don't.
Well, then what's the difference when you use the word fat Jew for a Jew you don't like?
Well, is Jew the same as because that is not that's not, one is a slur, right? And one is describing a religion. So you can't compare the two.
Really?
You know,
There's a way
how can you compare those two?
There's a way you say it, Dan, that the intent is the same.
It's so funny. He's completely rattled them because he's just said the N-word. It's hilarious. And, you know, like, he obviously didn't say it with like any malice or hatred. He wasn't like saying it, you know, out of like anger or to try to like hurt anyone. He's just like being an adult and saying like, well, like the N-word. It's so funny. It's like, even I'm like hesitant to say it because this is like going to go public, but like, you know, how childish is it that we can't even say the word? We refer to it as the N-word, even if we're not saying it in a hateful way. It's like, for so many people, just even someone just actually uttering the word N-I-G-G-E-R or N-I-G-G-A, that is like just so beyond the pale and hateful, when it's like, no, like, aren't we adults? Don't we have freedom of speech? Can't we just like talk about these things and not devolve into like this like emotional, you know, just like knee jerk, in an emotional way? Like, can't we just control ourselves and just like actually just talk about these things without it turning into just like, I don't know, like immature, like, I don't know, just silliness, utter silliness.
It's not the same at all.
So
one is a slur, one is a racial slur that I don't use, and the other one is describing ethnicity.
You just used it.
Well, are we adults? Can we talk about a word? Was a word so offensive that that it just, you know, you can't say it? We have to say
the answer to that is yes.
So I want to ask a question.
People are too sensitive.
You called.
Yeah, I agree. People are too sensitive. People are too sensitive. All right. What else we got here? What we got in Harrison's bookmarks. Excuse me. I should have muted the mic then. Well, so got nothing left in my bookmarks, but I figure we should go over to the YouTube channel Daryl Cooper and Scott Horton Provoked. These two guys are great. I mean, I talk about Scott Horton all the time, but Daryl Cooper is also phenomenal. As Tucker Carlson once said, the greatest historian in all of America, or the greatest American historian. But yeah, they've got this show Provoked, and they're getting into like the latest. I think this was recorded Thursday, so it's a few days old now, but they're getting into like, you know, some of the stuff going on in Iran. So why don't we head over there and have a quick listen? I'll check it out. And I'll probably try and do a bit more of this on my YouTube channel, just like just, I don't know, not just playing clips of things that like silly things that I think stupid people are saying and getting wrong, but actually like playing clips of people who are really smart and getting things correct. So without further ado, let's check it out.
In the day, like the day that the ceasefire was announced and the day prior, there were several news items, all very prominent, or well, some of them more prominent than others, but all of them were in major outlets. There was a retired general that went on, I think MSNBC, might have been CNN, and was reporting on, a rumor. He said it wasn't like he had firsthand knowledge of this, but it's what he was hearing from his friends who were flag officers still in the service, that there was some brewing discontent and even talk of like potential insubordination after Trump, started making the threats about destroying civilization and whatnot, that they felt like some people, at least within the flag ranks, felt like they were going to have to be the ones to say no. Then there was.
Sorry, Daryl. Did you say what the source was for that? This is something you heard?
No, it was a retired general, went on MSNBC or CNN, and he was reporting it as a rumor. Like, he wasn't saying, I know this for a fact, but this is what I'm hearing from my friends who were still active, And then there was also the story that CENTCOM was vetoing target selection from that Pete Hegseth was sending them and demanding certain things get hit, and they were refusing to do it because they were civilian targets. The fact that was happening is significant, but what's really significant to me about that is the fact that leaked out and went public when it did. Then there was the crazy story, the day that it came out, the day of ceasefire, in the New York Times by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, where, they just lay out not in general terms, like they have quotes from all these senior cabinet members, which tells you like however they got this information out there was coming from people like in the room, that everybody in the Trump administration, with like the exception of Hegseth, tried to tell him not to do this, tried to warn him off of this. Some of them were like more assertive about it than others, but like the entire attitude of virtually all of his advisors, again, with the exception of Hegseth, was this is a bad idea. And for that to come out that day, there was another story. This one didn't get, it wasn't quite as prominent because the New York Times one kind of sucked up all the oxygen. But there was another one. I think it was Susie Wiles or maybe another source in the cabinet who was concerned that Trump was not getting like the full picture of what was going on. Like people were presenting a rosy picture of what was going on the ground in Iran. And so all of these came out either the day of or the day before the ceasefire was announced, right? And when you couple that with what had just happened with this sort of, was it a failed raid? Was it just a really kind of strange rescue mission or whatever? Like, I think what probably happened is somewhere in the middle of the official story and the speculation that people are putting out there. I think that probably it was something like, a pilot went down or a plane went down in the region, general vicinity of Isfahan, and it was too far inland to just try to send a couple helos to go scoop this guy up or do some small operation like that. And they already had this large special operations force that had been studying the area and was like ready to do another operation there if called upon, and that they just sent them in there to either rescue the guy or maybe, you know, in the meantime while the guy was being rescued, try something. I don't know, but we all know how it ended. You know, something 6 or 7 aircraft destroyed, including 2 HC-130s. You know, large planes that that's
Dude, man, that's full on. Because like when you know, I don't know, like when I think of like that story, like what I heard about that American pilot, that you know, being stranded, like his plane went down and then he was stranded in Iran, and then there was like a rescue mission and it was successful. Like that's how it was reported. That's how that's how the news was sold to us. Was like Trump performed this successful mission and saved this pilot, but like then you actually find out that they did get the pilot, but they lost like another 6 or 7 aircraft in the process of doing it. So it's not really like the great success that has been touted on the news, which isn't surprising at all. But you know, like just goes to show how much propaganda there is, and then you know, a few days later or a week later, we actually find out like more details, and it's not as rosy as they tried to tell us initially.
Specific configuration is very expensive. There's a lot of gear on board. Destroyed those things, and our guys, you know, they ended up on the ground waiting for another pickup. I mean, there's a few hundred guys apparently on the ground, and arranging to pick those guys up when their C-130s have been destroyed. And you got to figure something out. You know, there were people scrambling to get that done, and they were on the ground for 3-4 hours apparently, waiting for that to happen. And you know, it was only just through overwhelming close air support, blowing up basically from what it sounds like, every military age male and vehicle within several kilometers of those guys. And who knows how many innocent people got killed as a result of that, because it sounds like we were blasting everything that even was close to them. You know, is probably the only thing that kept them from being overrun. And, you know, if there had been like a point, if they had gotten stuck out there for a few more hours, so that just because of the available resources, there had to be a gap in the sortie generation, you know, where it had to slow down as planes refueled, and kind of like you just, you know, a gap of even, you know, an hour or two, there's a chance that the Iranian militias and forces around there would have been able to come to grips with our special ops guys there and get close enough that couldn't use close air support on them. And who knows what would have happened. And so this was a very close run thing. You know, obviously the aircraft losses are the big story, but I mean, this was an operation that was very close to going terribly wrong. And so when you have that happen, and which whether or not it was a you know, an attempt to use the pilot rescue to pull off this Isfahan raid or whatever it was definitely those guys who were planning that raid, doing an operation that was very similar to the one that got leaked to the press just a couple of days before about finding a landing strip and all the different things right in the vicinity of where it would have taken place, which, you know, whatever it was would mean, you would think, that operation, after the way that just went, that whole thing about going stealing their uranium is off the table. And so if you think about where...
I'll pause it there. But yeah, go check out those guys. Go check out that YouTube channel. Daryl Cooper and Scott Horton Provoked. Phenomenal podcast. And they do like a weekly show like every Friday, or for us in Australia it comes out Saturday. Rightio, nearly at the end. Last thing that I'll cover is to do with the Ben Roberts-Smith case and the accusations leveled against him of 5 counts of different types of war crimes. On my last show, I covered this and went over some different things and relating to Ben Roberts-Smith and the accusations, and specifically like addressing or like, responding to the Two Worlds Collide podcast. And what's his name? Sam Bamford. Sorry about that, Sam. In the last show, I didn't know what your name was, so I was just referring to you as the Two Worlds Collide podcast guy. So Sam Bamford. Sorry, mate. No disrespect, and no, all my critiques that I had during that episode. It's like I'm not like having a personal attack at you. I'm just responding to your arguments, and I disagree with many of them, and so yeah, it was just like I was trying to come at it like talking about the issues, not having a dig at you personally. But anyway, so I seen another clip. This guy's like got a massive following, so I just like his stuff pops up in my algorithm, I guess. But oh, excuse me. Oh, big day in the office. I seen another one of his clips, and I just thought I'd respond to that to finish off the show. So let's go over here now. So this is Sam Bamford's Instagram, Two Worlds Collide podcast. But which one was it that popped up? Excuse me. It's this guy. Okay, so let's have a listen to this.
And just quickly as well on the Ben Roberts-Smith, all it's doing, for example, for me and people younger than me, if I was thinking about joining the military and I see something that happens to Ben Roberts-Smith like this, why would I then join the military?
Okay, so not everyone in the military are being accused of war crimes like Ben Roberts-Smith is. So I don't see how this argument that this guy's making holds up. What's this guy's name? Jackson Warren. I don't see how Jackson Warren's argument holds up because there's hundreds of other military personnel that deployed to Afghanistan and aren't being accused of war crimes. So that's what I'd say to that.
If I'm prepared to put my life on the line for this country and get all these accolades and awards and meet all these people and get all of this, recognition, but then you'll so quickly be able to put me in the bin and disgrace me and tarnish my name. Well, how does that make every other military soldier feel? How does it make every other young person that wants to join the military feel?
Well, again, like the vast majority of Australian military personnel that deployed to Afghanistan aren't being accused of war crimes. And we can get into the whole, like, should we have been in Afghanistan in the first place? And the answer is no. That was all based on lies. The Taliban had nothing to do with 9/11. Just because Al-Qaeda were in Afghanistan with training camps does not mean that the Taliban, therefore, are guilty of Al-Qaeda's crimes. And even if we had a beef with the Taliban because they are somehow guilty, which that was never proven, but if there was some guilt on behalf of the Taliban, what right does America and the Allies have? What right do they have to have a regime change in Afghanistan, to oust the Taliban and then install a new government over the people of Afghanistan? We don't have that right. It was just ridiculous. The whole war was ridiculous. As Scott Horton has put it, the whole war in Afghanistan could have been over by Christmas 2001 because there was 400 Al-Qaeda guys, and they could have been dealt with, and they largely were dealt with. And Scott Horton makes the case, and you can go read his books on it, but he makes the case that the Americans allowed bin Laden to escape into Pakistan. They had him cornered in Tora Bora, and the Delta Force and some other military guys were going to George W. Bush asking for reinforcements because they knew that they could have got bin Laden, and George Bush explicitly said no. So we didn't have to create a new government in Kabul. we didn't have to have regime change in Afghanistan. It's just a joke. But to the extent that that our young brave men got sent there, the vast majority of them aren't accused of war crimes. And so I've got a really good friend of mine. One of my best friends is a veteran, and he said to me that Ben Robert Smith, if he needs to, be tried, and if he is guilty, he needs to go to prison. And actually, that like a lot of military guys want that to happen because someone who's guilty of war crimes needs to be held accountable, and it needs to be shown that one bad apple, so to speak, doesn't speak for everybody. And actually, most of our military are very honourable and they pride themselves on that honour. They would never do the things that Ben Robert Smith is being accused of.
Maybe. Do you think maybe that they want to do this though?
I just feel like they're trying to destroy the Australian spirit. I think it's really obvious that they're just trying to deepen their
bang on, Sam. Like, I don't understand, dude. Like, how is that bang on? Like, this is what I was saying in like the last show, that like the equating like fucking wokeism and like leftist, like out there wild leftist fucking stuff, weird stuff like trans and kids and demonization of masculinity and all that sort of stuff. Like that's not related to the case with Ben Robert Smith and his him being accused of war crimes. Those things are not related at all. And to like suggest that they are is like fucking really stupid. I got to stop swearing. Jeez. I got to stop swearing.
Soul, if they've got one, they're trying to crush our soul. They're trying to get rid of Australian culture, Australians' identity. I
hate to be the friggin', the like laughing stock Jordan Peterson, but I do have to ask the question what this guy's like referring to is like, who's they? I hate to be that guy asking who's they, but like who's they? Who are these people that are the same people responsible for pushing, woke ideology, wanting to trans kids, demonizing masculinity, and also accusing Ben Robert Smith of 5 counts of war crimes? Who is they that is the same entity that is responsible for that? Genuine question.
They're genuinely just trying to break our spirit. That's how I feel.
100%. And, over a decade ago, they started pumping kids full of hormones. They started telling us that the land we're on is stolen. They started attacking young men and telling that they're the danger to society. And now they're going after our national identity and going after our alpha males that have done the most for this country. You can't tell me that this isn't coordinated as an attack on our national identity.
How is it coordinated, dude? You tell me, how is it coordinated? You're saying we can't tell you, or no one can tell you that it isn't coordinated. You tell me how it is coordinated. Yes, I agree that demonization of masculinity and teaching like young boys to like fucking hate themselves for being male, and and pushing like this idea of whatever, like how awful the patriarchy is, and the patriarchy is like alive and well, and men are all awful and rapists and whatever else. Like, yeah, that's like really toxic, and we shouldn't be like teaching young boys about that. And also like trans ideology, like specifically that being pushed onto kids. I mean, if you're an adult, like you do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody. I don't care. But like for kids, that is very destructive to be teaching them that a little boy is a little girl or whatever the fuck. Damn it, I swore again. But yeah, like I just, how is all this coordinated? How is like the people that are like, that believe in all that stuff are also the ones bringing accusations against Ben Robert Smith? Or maybe he wouldn't put it like that, but like, like there are veterans. I mean, again, like I just said, like I've got a good friend of mine, one of my best friends who's a veteran, and he's telling me that there's a lot of other veterans that are of the opinion that if Ben Robert Smith is guilty of all this stuff, he needs to go to jail, and that's a good thing because if it is proven guilty, if it is proven true that he is guilty, that all that is dishonorable. You can't just murder people in cold blood, especially when they're unarmed and are bound with their hands tied behind their back. And 99.99% of SAS personnel wouldn't do that. They don't do that, and so like for someone to do that is dishonorable and needs to be dealt with.
You can't tell me that's not. And then they would do stuff like a humiliation ritual.
Oh, and also, sorry, I just got to say one other thing too. That like I got a lot to say, but like Ben Robert Smith being held accountable, if it is true, these accusations, that like that needs to be done out of a love for our country, like out of a love for our military personnel and our elite SAS, soldiers who put their life on the line and went into a foreign nation even and dutifully did what our leaders told them to do, even though our leaders lied to us all and lied to them. They still went out and did their best to carry out the mission and do it in an honorable way. So, out of like a love for those guys, that like if there is someone there that was like doing the wrong thing and murdering unarmed civilians, that they need to be dealt with. And that's because like we love our military, we love our country, we love Australia. And we don't want like this one guy who's, we don't want to like paint the whole SAS and tar them with the same brush of, someone who is potentially guilty of these war crimes.
Where they go and arrest him coming off a plane and the media gets the drop on it. I know for a fact that Ben Robert Smith has told the AFP multiple times, when you need me to come in, I will come in. This doesn't need to be a spectacle for the world to see. Yeah. I will come in when you need me to come in. Give me the call. I'll hand myself in. I'm not a flight risk.
Yeah.
I've heard this from multiple sources that are close to the situation. And, that DEI hire that has more medals than Ben Robert Smith gave the...
Just to be clear, DEI is retarded and needs to be abolished. I totally agree.
Order to do it that way, to arrest him that way, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Like, when the pendulum comes swinging down on these people and they're going to be wondering what the fuck happened to Australia when we all started to push back really, really hardly, moments like this is going to be studied.
And just quickly as well on the Ben Robert Smith.
All right, so that's that clip. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I just don't see how. Let me just go back to full screen. But I just don't see how the Ben Robert Smith case is like more evidence that of like the woke agenda or whatever, of like a coordination effort to try and like bring our country down and demoralize Australians and make us hate ourselves even more. No, in actual fact, a lot of military people, and I'm not speaking for them, but I'm, again saying that like one of my best friends, military guy, and he's telling me that his military guys are all saying that like, that Ben Robert Smith needs to go to trial, and if it's proven guilty, he needs to be dealt with, and that's actually good for our military because we don't want guys like that in our military. So that's that. Again, I'll just like state that like I'm a libertarian anarcho-capitalist, so I believe that the state is immoral to its core by its very nature and should be abolished. And that the world would be, and Australia, and specifically, let's just talk about Australia, forget about the world, but like Australia would be a better place if all human beings here interacted in a voluntary way as opposed to interacting by force and coercion and the threat of violence. So, you want to argue with me on that? Go right ahead. All right. On that, I'll end it. Thanks, everybody. And yeah, like I will just say as well, I mean, moving forward, I'll do more of these shows, podcasts, whatever you want to call it. But I want to sort of like try and treat it as a bit of a diary, a bit of a like video diary. And maybe like next time, like I'll mention just like day-to-day things, you know, just briefly or whatever. But it'd be nice for me to look back on it and just go, oh yeah, I forgot that I did that on that day, or I forgot that thing happened. And you know, maybe one day if I have kids, you know, pray to God that I do, that it's something that they can also look back on and you know, just get a clear picture of who I am and what my beliefs are and my moral character, all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'll try and do it, and hopefully I'll swear less, try not to drop so many F-bombs, and on that, peace out. Nah, kidding. Peace out. Love you all. Forgive your trespasses, love your enemies, and God bless. Peace out, y'all.